All right, people, we're back. Victory and Vices podcast. Me, Rory Spooner, James Veck. No, Reece Henley couldn't be with us again today because of scheduling conflicts. But we're back after a small hiatus. Thanks to everybody that took the time to watch our Euros videos. If you go onto our channel, we put out a preview for each individual country that was participating in the Euros. We are bigger, Vecky, than we've ever been in Slovakia, according to analytics. They love us in Slovakia, bro. Let me tell you. I don't know what they saw in that video, but shout out to the Slovakians. And as you can see below, very special guest, our fantasy football winner, Jack Hansford. Now, Jack, and for the Love of Lists podcast, which we just established is the correct name because me and Becky were guessing at it and we guessed completely incorrect. So Jack, first and foremost, mate, again, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. We were a little late in terms of getting the ball rolling, but we got there in the end. We wanted to obviously shine a bit of light on your podcast, mate, as well, just so you can obviously explain it to sub or look for you, talk to them and just explain a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, so our podcast, For the Love of Lists, it's a bit of a mouthful. So we normally just refer to it as FTLOL. And yeah, basically the clues in the name, we'd normally do lists. So it's normally sort of top 10 stuff, almost all football, but we have done sort of some other sports things in there as well. And then tier lists on certain subjects as well. I've also started doing an FPL weekly episode as well, where again we sort of bring our own spin to it and do sort of top 5 topics of that week as well. But yeah, as the name suggests, it's sort of mostly top 5, top 10 football subjects.
Yeah. And where can they find you, mate? Sorry, Becky, go on.
How many you do the podcast?
So it's mainly me and my co-host Jordan. We do occasionally get other guests, but yes, generally sort of between 2 and 4 hosts on there.
Yeah, I got you. Where can they find you and Jordan in the podcast? So is it SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes?
So we got some stuff on YouTube, and then everything else is just on sort of whatever podcast platform you use, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
Yeah.
If you just type in #FTLOL, you should find us.
There we are. We'll put that in the description again, #FTLOL. You are the biggest footballing brain here right now, mate, considering you smashed us in FPL.
I don't know. FPL's, I don't know if that makes me a football brain. It can be a little bit, to be honest, it's a little bit going with the crowd to a point. Like, I think if I was to give one bit of advice, like don't go too different and don't go crazy, like bringing in players like, I'll pluck a name out of the air, Solomon Rondon, instead of Lukaku or Ronaldo, for example.
The problem is, when you start dropping a few places down, and you're looking at people as teams above you, it's like, well, I can copy their team or try and get close to it, but then you're not gaining on them, and you have to do something new to try it. Similar but different in ways, so that you gamble to try and get above them.
It depends how early in the season it is, to be fair, because and it depends how far you're away from them too. Because if you're in a mini league and you're like, I don't know, 20 points behind your rival or something, I'd just kind of stick to what you're doing and not still make a manic move. Obviously later in the season, you might have to get a bit desperate and do them crazy things, but at the start of the season, I think just kind of roll with it a little bit.
Yeah, sound advice, bro. We're going to listen to you because, again, you are above us. I believe you're 4th in the league right now, so you're sitting quite well. So you're pretty much making this league your own. Like, as lads that started the league, we're slightly embarrassed, right, that we're not in the top 3, but I mean, it is what it is.
Like, we're 9th and 10th, aren't we, I think?
Yeah.
I finished last year about 6th or 7th, I think. So it wasn't too bad. But we're still in touching distance with Jack at the moment for the time being. So we're going to keep an eye on his team, aren't we, Spoon? We're going to see what he's doing.
Very much, mate. Yeah, but not solid advice. Don't go too wild. That's probably what I did at the end of last season, Becky, and I just I give up in the end, bro. I saw how far you were ahead. I was at Ben Rama in pajamas, and I was like, nah, I'm not catching that. Like, that's.
Have you played any chips or anything yet so far, Jack, this season?
No, not yet. I'll probably like wild card in like 5 weeks or something like that, 5 or 6 weeks.
Okay, there we are. 5 weeks. I'm Mental note made. There we are,
Yeah.
5 weeks for the wild card. Cool. But yeah, no, again, bro, you smashed it and you're smashing it again. So you're looking like you're going to make this league your own. We stand by our word as well. If you win it, you can come on. We'll happily help promote, anybody's podcast or anything else they've got going on. But to the football news, because we missed out this summer a little bit. We were heavily focused on that. I obviously messaged Jack yesterday, and I said, Jack, there's a few talking points we want to bring up. So initially, for any police that are watching or criminal investigators that are watching or anybody else that's watching, what we discuss next is allegedly. So there's no, there's no sort of, we don't have any evidence. We're not investigating anybody. We're just going to talk about what we have seen and heard. So a little disclaimer for any authority, shall we say, that might be watching. So yes, the first one I wanted to start with was Benjamin Mendy. Wow, yeah, that's a big talking point. It's like starting with Jimmy Savile, really, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? It's a hell of a deep dive. So Benjamin Mendy, currently in jail or prison, I don't know what the correct term is, for allegedly sexually assaulting 4 women. Apparently 3 of them, I believe, were in October. I'm just going to bring it up now. Let's have a little look here. So yeah, 4. Yeah, so he's basically got 4 counts of rape and 1 account of sexual assault. I wanted your opinion on it, Becky. I'll start with you first. We've seen this in the past where just names off the top of my head, Cristiano Ronaldo, I think Johnny Evans was involved in something like this too. Generally, football clubs, when there is sort of an accusation, they're quite flexible. They go, look, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. We're going to keep playing you. A lot of people are okay with that. With the Mendy situation is interesting because it says 3 of the rapes were alleged to have taken place in October 2020. So Manchester City, should I say, I beg your pardon, would have known about 3 different potential rape cases, yet they still kept playing him. Now, what's your take on that, Becky, initially?
Well, I'd be intrigued to know what sort of details they knew about that at the time. You say they were allegedly aware of 3 cases. There's a lot that's going on behind the scenes there, isn't it, that we won't get to know about. You talked about Ronaldo as an example. There was allegations against him. Obviously, he's a much bigger name who's established much more in the game, so he's almost got sort of credit and a lot more credit in the bank, reputation-wise, than someone like Mendy, because he hasn't done like this before that we know of, but he's a social media star more than a footballer. He's been known to be a bit of a loose cannon, Benjamin Mendy. So with Ronaldo, the 1 alleged case, and then 3 to 4 cases with Mendy, I think is slightly different. But there's a lot that we probably don't know about this. But where is it exactly at the moment? Is he in prison and it's resolved, or is it a pending trial?
No, yeah. So it's pending trial. He's basically been denied bail, so he's going to stay in prison or jail until the trial is over. At which point, if he's a free man, obviously he'll clear his name, and if not, he'll get his custodial sentence, so to speak. But what is your take on it, Jack? Initially, what was your thoughts on it when you saw it?
Yeah, I sort of agree with what you're saying in terms of the situations, although rightly or wrongly, I can see why clubs would treat them differently. So Ronaldo, one, it was 1 case, and 2, he's a massive star, and he was at Juventus at the time, wasn't he? So he would have been kind of their best player. Whereas Mendy, I mean, outside of this anyway, there's a lot of trouble. Mendy's in the papers a lot more for what he does off the pitch than on it, and I just feel like they wouldn't have sort of lost anything if they did sort of suspend him. I don't know the legal ramification of that if they did that, whether he could sue them or not. But just from a reputational standpoint, I think they would have been better off just suspending him, like with pay. You might have to to do that. It's difficult to comment without kind of knowing to be honest, I've not massively looked into what's gone on, but I know it's one of the more serious ones of the last few years, isn't it? But I just feel like City should have just used that as an excuse to bin him, really.
Yeah, do you know what? He hasn't really performed, has he? I mean, considering he was, I think at the time if he wasn't the most expensive fullback, he was definitely one of the most expensive fullbacks. And the Mendy situation is interesting because we had Nicky Hunt on the podcast, Jack, a while back. So Nicky Hunt used to play for Bolton. And Nicky came on and we were talking about football players being an asset. I think at the time we were discussing, it might have been Ravel Morrison with him or someone else. And basically what he was saying was, as long as you're an asset to a club in some way, shape or form, they will do their utmost to protect you. But once you stop being an asset to them, then basically you're of no value anymore. So, they'll bin your first point they get. Becky's back. Here we go. So, that was interesting hearing that from Nicky Hunt, because obviously when I saw the Benjamin Mendy situation, I didn't think of it actually, Jack, from a legal standpoint, from Mendy's side, because he could, as you say, turn around and go, look, I'm innocent until proven guilty. You're destroying my reputation. Whereas Man City could then turn around and go, you've got 4 rape cases against you. Like I think he started the game against Spurs on the opening day of the season as well. So even up until that point, Man City were very comfortable playing him. And City themselves, it's hard to have a moral compass in business and football, because City are known for cooking the books, right? We know what they do. Like, they spend a huge amount of money, or they have done, and clearly there's been something dodgy going on behind the scenes. But it's almost that win at all cost mentality. Becky, now you're back. I mean, obviously, if Benjamin Mendy does come back and is found not guilty, do you think he still has a future at Man City, or is he pretty much done?
No, I think, you can't say he doesn't have a future, because if he's ruled that the allegations are false and he hasn't done what the rumors saying that he has done, then it would be unfair. There is going to be that stigma, where that will always be attached to you. And you always told me, the saying "mud sticks," and it will for an extent. But if he hasn't done it, I'd like to think that Man City would back him and put an arm around his shoulder and say, this isn't going to be easy, but if the evidence shows he hasn't done it, then time does heal it. And then he'd have to sort of really get his head down and put in a performance. But you can't really say that he's ever fully done that 100% prior to this.
Yeah, I agree.
He's never really been that type of player who's just got his head down and focused 100% on football. But it's a tough one. I wouldn't like to say that if he's proven not guilty that his career's over with City. I don't think that's the case. Always get a second chance, didn't you?
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, it's one of those things where it is a very difficult situation from a moral standpoint. Although a lot of football fans, if you ask them, success is everything to them, so they probably don't care either which way. But I mean, if he is not guilty, and the length of this trial, I'd be interested to see how long he does have on his City contract, because the likelihood is they probably wouldn't renew him. Like, he wouldn't have played for years. He only plays about 12 games a season anyway. So, they'd easily go out and get a better left back. But
yeah, the thing is, if it was a better player, like a world-class player who's really important to the team, then you'd imagine they'd definitely stick with him. And football fans have short memories, So if it was like a Trent Alexander-Arnold, for example, Liverpool fans, all fans have short memories. If he was proven not guilty and he starts playing superbly well again, then people will forget, So, but with Mendy, like you say, it's not quite the case there with him.
Yeah. I'm sure as time evolves, we'll get more information. But for now, it is, they are alleged, or he has allegedly done something. So we'll leave Ben there. Moving on to another man in hot water. Now, he hasn't actually been named by Everton, but we're all smart lads. We can put 2 and 2 together and get 4. Is Gylfi Sigurdsson. Now, again, this is an interesting subject, right? Because the Gylfi Sigurdsson situation, he seems to have gone to ground. He's not been obviously in any Everton matchday squads. If you try and Google his name, there's actually very little news articles on him. I had a quick look earlier on.
Yeah, there wasn't on it.
Yeah, there's very little, mate, is there? So it's Everton are doing a hell of a PR job to brush it under the carpet. As long as they keep winning games, no one's going to ask any other questions, and they're doing quite well this season. But the Sigurdsson issue again, Jack, I'll start with you, mate. We know very little about it other than potentially and allegedly Gylfi Sigurdsson hired a prostitute that was supposedly underage. I mean, it's a weird situation, mate. When you first heard about the allegations and whatnot, what did you think?
To be honest, I didn't really know much about the Gylfi stuff. No, the Mendy one seemed to be more. Yeah. Because I think there was a time when I don't know whether to say anyone else's name, but there was another Everton player that wasn't in the squad that used to play for Aston Villa and people like that. And I know there was like a bit of guessing game around that, but I to be honest, I don't know much.
You don't know too
much
about
the Gylfi one, but
yeah,
you can't hear that story quite a lot, like underage prostitutes, and I don't know if she's disclosed her age or whatever, but yeah, obviously you shouldn't be doing that anyway, but it does seem to be quite common amongst footballers.
The thing is with the Gylfi one, and you've already said it, Spoon, there's not a lot of information or evidence out there about it, so there's obviously going to be a lot of speculation in because nobody's really got much detail. What I will say is when I heard the news, I was very shocked because I don't know Gylfi personally. Obviously, none of us do, but he seems like quite an unsuspecting person, someone who really dips under the radar. You never really see much of him in the news other than when he bangs in a screamer every few games, he's loved by Swans fans. So obviously, where we're from, that was very unexpected. But the thing is that I don't want to say I feel sorry for certain footballers because, like Jack said, you could probably put question marks over some of the behaviour, saying, should you really be doing that? But there's been a lot of scenarios where professional footballers have done certain things that they are allowed to do, and sometimes under the impression that certain people are over the legal age, and then it comes to light afterwards and that's not the case. And you just think, whilst, of course, if you're doing that, it is obviously illegal behaviour, but it's, you go back to the root cause of that, and then, those people that are in those positions underage, how has that happened? And you just think the easiest thing you can do as a professional footballer is keep your head down and, enjoy with your family and stuff. But when you get fame and you get money and you've got everything you want and you get bored and certain footballers go wandering, it's not something we can relate to, but you can sort of understand sometimes how they get themselves in these situations. But it's not all their fault, is it? If this is true about Gylfi, he's got to accept responsibility. It's the job that you're in, isn't it? The scrutiny that you get. But I'd be keen to see if how much else comes out about this, because Everton are doing a cracking job of keeping up the DL.
If I ever get in trouble, I want Everton to look after my affairs, bro, because I have not heard a thing about it. Like, I've heard nothing. Just to give you some sort of context, Jack, as to what I heard, and again, these are all allegations. So the information that came out and that sort of was presented to me that I saw, and I'm assuming many other people saw it as well, is that Gylfi Sigurdsson cheated on his missus with a prostitute. Now, this sort of splits into two roads. Now, road one is Gylfi Sigurdsson hired a prostitute. The prostitute said she was 18 and basically lied about her age. Now, road two is Gylfi Sigurdsson hired a prostitute knowing she was underage and still went ahead and done it anyway. So that's kind of where the road splits. Now, if Gylfi Sigurdsson has hired a prostitute and she's lied about her age, then I'm pretty sure Gylfi Sigurdsson will have a career again, because ultimately, okay, from a moral standpoint, he's cheated on his missus, who at the time I think was pregnant as well. And as you say, Becky, victory and vices, isn't it? You know what I mean? A lot of temptation out there for these young men. So it's from a moral standpoint, we all go, you're wrong. Most football fans are not going to care. If it's found out that Gylfi Sigurdsson knew that girl was underage, allegedly, then that's where there's no comeback from that situation. And like I said, very little information has been put out about it. The one sort of parallel it has, lads, and I don't know if you know or if you're familiar with it at all. Are either of you familiar with the Benzema and the Ribery situation?
Ribery, yeah. That's what I was going to say. It's very much sounding like that. And obviously they've both got careers. They've both had great careers after that anyway. I think in France that the prostitution bit's not illegal, is it? It's just the fact on that particular one that she was underage or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I was reading about it earlier on just to do a bit of background check on it, and it says the age of consent is 15 in France, but paying for sex with anyone under 18 is a crime. So if you're paying for sex with someone over the age of 18, it's not considered a crime. So apparently, obviously, well, as we all know, sorry, go on. Are you there? You still there, mate? It's froze a minute. Yeah, you're still there. You're back. Yeah. So that's what it says on the BBC article. Obviously, there's parallels in the sense that at the time, Ribery, I think, was 30 years old. Benzema was a bit younger. He was 26 when it all got resolved. But I suppose the one issue Sigurdsson has is he's about 31, 32. So he's not got a lot left in the tank anyway. So if let's say, for example, Jack, right, Sigurdsson, it's all found out that he has no wrongdoing, but he hasn't played football for a season and he's coming into his mid-30s. Would you take a chance on him as a Premier League manager?
I might, just because, like, when you haven't got the legs, the thing is with Sigurdsson, he's dead ball specialist. So, like, it depends on who, like a Burnley, for example.
Yeah.
They could do with someone like that.
Yeah.
With the way that they play football, but yeah, if he's kind of cleared of it, I would. But no, he's not getting an Everton level club at the end of his contract.
Yeah.
I think it all depends, and you said there, Spoon, on how much it drags on, and how much bad press it does or doesn't bring to Everton. Because if Everton protect him very well and they get this resolved, they brush it under the carpet in sensible time for him, then I think he's, like Jack said, if he's cleared of it, that he's still got time. But if it does sort of come out now, more details, and it gets a little bit messy and it's all over the news, the papers, Premier League clubs don't like bad. Well, clubs in general don't like bad press. It's just not good, is it, for them, and Premier League clubs in particular. So yeah, if it gets a little bit messy and it drags on, I think obviously age isn't on his side, and then certain clubs just won't want to go near it. So it all depends on how long it goes on for and how tasty it gets, really, I think.
Yeah, I imagine as the year evolves, we will maybe get a few more details. It may be the case that the new year it starts to fully break again. But again, we just thought we'd touch upon it. Obviously, we didn't speak about it in the summer, which we would have done. We'd have probably gone in a bit more depth. But yeah, it was interesting to talk about those two situations and the parallels they have with other ones. But moving forward on to a different topic. Now, Jack, I wanted your opinion on this because you're sort of the transfer guru here. Messi and Ronaldo. Now, big summer. They both left. Messi at PSG, Ronaldo at United. I wanted your opinion. Who made the best move? Was it Ronaldo or was it Messi?
Well, there's two different things, isn't there? There's for their bank balance.
Yeah.
And for their legacy. For their actual legacy. So I've got to say Ronaldo, because to be honest, I've been on the Ronaldo over Messi train the whole time. But no, you're not going to like this. I know you guys are United fans. Yeah. I think at least one of you. Yeah. But because of that Copa America win, I'd actually sway to having Messi back above Ronaldo for the first time in like over 10 years. But I think he's killed himself going to PSG. It really has, because I don't even think he's the star at PSG. I think it's still Mbappe, but he's probably going to leave on a free. And just playing in that league, you're going to struggle, like, unless you win the Champions League a couple of times. And I actually think you guys will win the league.
Do you reckon? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Ronaldo signing has pushed you over the edge on that, because people are saying he's 36, but he's not a 36-year-old body, is he? He's still like late 20s probably in that sense. So yeah, I think Ronaldo made the better move.
The only thing my take on that, just to respond to your Copa America point, I see what you're saying, but I do think that there's so many European teams that if they entered the Copa America would easily come.
Yeah, no, I get that. that.
Yeah, it was nice for the Messi fans to sort of see him finally get that international trophy, because he came so close on so many times. So yeah, me and Spoon, where Ronaldo camp, there's plenty of respect on Messi's name, but to touch on what you said in terms of the better move, initially I was like, not so sure, but you ask me now, and you see how Ronaldo's season has started and Messi's season has started, and I would agree. I think Ronaldo has comfortably made the better move so far. I said to Reece Spooner, I'm not so sure on this PSG move, because it's just, what was it? I put something in the group the other day, Spooner, that the French league is now dropped out of the top 5 most watched leagues, and Reece was like, oh, what does that matter? And I was like, it all matters, because like the interest isn't in that league really for the watching eye. He's playing no names every week. Even the best teams that they're playing against, it's still only Lyon and Marseille. At least in Spain, it's it's Real Madrid, it's Atletico Madrid. And Jack said it, at his age, Mbappe seems to still be the star. Maybe even Neymar. He hasn't scored a goal yet. I probably look like a fool now, because if he's in the squad tonight, he'd probably bang one in and try and look like But to this point, he hasn't scored a goal. And Reece, as you know, Spoon is a massive Messi fan, and he got so defensive the other day when I said that Messi isn't at his usual standard, and he started sending me statistics about how he done in these games. And I was like, "No, bro, relax. He's still a superb player, but he just isn't currently operating at his godlike level that he was in the seasons gone by. So maybe that'll change, but I think Ronaldo is like you say, is making the better move so far.
Yeah, I'd agree. In terms of the bank balance, I think they've both made so much money that the bank balance, they probably wouldn't even notice a paycheck going in, to be honest with you. They got so much money. But in terms of legacy, I suppose the way it'll work itself is Ronaldo, if he wins a Premier League or a Champions League, will probably be one of his greatest achievements to go and do it at United at that age. And at that point, they probably have to put him in the Ballon d'Or category, and he'd probably go on and win that as well, and that would tip the legacy in his favour. Whereas Messi, if he wins the Champions League and Ronaldo wins nothing, then that tips it in his favour. There seems to be a lot more harmony at Manchester United. I know Solskjaer, we'll come on to it on another podcast, Becky, about his tactics and is he the right man to take them where they need to go. But we saw at the weekend, there were still cracks at PSG. I think, Mbappe was saying, Neymar won't pass to me. And now Messi is, kicking off for Pochettino. And as time evolves, if that season isn't going to plan, that can get very, very toxic, because there's a lot of egos at that club. I was reading the other day about Donnarumma not being happy about being on the bench, and then when Keylor Navas is on the bench, he's not happy. So you're trying to keep 23 people happy, and they've all got massive egos. It's not like, you got a few Freds and McTominays in there that are happy to ride the bench. Like, every lad in that PSG squad pretty much is going to be like, well, why am I not playing? So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Right now, I'd say Ronaldo made the better move, but time will reveal all, I guess, won't it, lads? So we'll soon find out. Either which way, I think we can all safely say, whether it's regardless of Ronaldo or Messi, we're all more than happy for them to keep enhancing the legacy, right?
What the interesting thing is about both managers of those clubs also. Solskjaer and Pochettino, is that you look at the quality that they've both got at their disposal, but neither of those manager has any proven trophy-winning credentials on how to manage a team of that quality and keep harmony in a camp of 23 plus players. And that's the interesting thing about it, isn't it? Is, there's question marks over Pochettino's, question marks over Solskjaer. So are either of those teams, are we going to see their true potential with both those managers at the helm?
Yeah, no, interesting question. Well, I thought Messi might have ended up at Man City, so this leads me nicely into the next topic we're going to discuss. Messi didn't end up at Man City. One of the reasons for that was they spent 100 million on Jack Grealish. Now, Jack Grealish, look, ridiculously good-looking guy, best calf muscles in sport, bar none, right? They are glorious. And he's probably got maybe the best hair as well. Like, he's a good-looking guy. But is he worth 100 million? Jack, I wanted your opinion. What did you think of the move itself?
He's worth 100 million to Aston Villa, but he's not worth 100 million to Man City.
Yeah.
I thought it was an odd one because City needed a number 9. They didn't need a left winger, I don't think. I mean, it's funny because Sterling was well outperforming Grealish at the Euros.
Yeah.
From, not necessarily mean they can't play in the same team, but yeah, with Mahrez there as well, I wasn't even sure Grealish would start every week.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like he probably is just because they paid the money for him, but that move didn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah. What do you think of it, Becky?
I agree. When you watch them play now, I know they won the game against Chelsea, obviously, but you watch them lately and you just think they're crying out for a number 9. And, we've been saying for years, they have to replace Aguero. And yeah, they had that one season where they managed to play with no striker and win trophies. But typically you can't just keep doing that. And like Jack said, they didn't get what they needed. Instead, they got what they already had. And, you've got Bernardo Silva, you've got Sterling, you've got Ferran Torres, you've got Phil Foden. I know they sort of interchange positions a little bit, but there's just so many attacking midfield options that they already have there. And they went for Grealish, and there was talks of maybe Bernardo Silva going and Sterling going, or both of them. And they've ended up just keeping the both of them. So they've just got, if Pep Roulette wasn't a thing before it, where he changed his lineup all the time, it's even worse now. You probably sympathise with us, Jack. Man City plays in the Fantasy League. It's like a lottery.
That's probably one of the big tips actually as well. I completely avoid it.
Yeah.
I've actually just recorded my one and said I don't mind now getting some of their defense like Diaz and probably Cancelo, but that's literally it. Like, I wouldn't go near any of them Man City attackers because you just don't know who's going to play week by week.
After their centre halves, it can be a lottery. Them midfield and front line, and sometimes you get to spot on, and people say it's a masterstroke, and sometimes he gets criticised for overthinking it because he's constantly changing. But he obviously hasn't done bad, has he? Grealish, he's got in on a few goals and assists, but I don't think he hasn't set the world alight, and he hasn't offered them anything they didn't already have.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I agree. City just checked the score now, 1-0 down against PSG. Idrissa Gueye scored for PSG. Last person I'd expect to score on the pitch.
Probably the only guy in the team that doesn't have an ego.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, City 1-0 down. It's showing again. We spoke about it previously, Becky, on other podcasts. Jack, you probably think along a similar line. They needed Kane. Like that they had to go and buy Harry Kane. Like Jack Grealish for me was overkill. I like him. I think he's a great player. And look, he's going to be so well paid. Will he win a few trophies? Yeah, probably. They win the League Cup every year. It's basically their cup. But will he win anything significant? It's going to be hard this season. Like that Chelsea side, they're a well-oiled machine. Liverpool, they'll lose Salah and Mane in the summer. January to the African Cup of Nations. I beg your pardon. Sorry. So City, they'll be there or thereabouts, but it'll be difficult. Like, it's not going to be easy for them. And I think Grealish was just completely enticed by playing under Guardiola and earning as much money as he's going to earn. They had to sign Kane or Messi. Like, it had to be one or the other, quite frankly. I don't know how they didn't do it.
Haaland, even.
Oh, Haaland, yeah. It's going to be interesting because they haven't replaced Aguero. And what Grealish is going to find out is Guardiola's only there for maybe another, well, it's this season and next season. And beyond that, I think he said he's not going to look to stay. So I don't know what sort of legacy Grealish is even going to have at Man City, because he might not even win anything in those 2 years other than the League Cup.
Yeah. Well, City, in my opinion, and I know Reece agrees as well, City were at their absolute brilliant best to watch when Aguero was in his pomp and he was starting every week, because they had the quality around them to create like they do now, but then they had that guy, number 9, to finish everything off and get you 25, 30 goals a season, and they haven't got it. So, and Kane looks like he's having a great time, doesn't he, at the moment at Spurs? So I'll see how that one turned out.
Yeah, it just didn't end well for anybody.
He got an assist at the weekend.
He did, yeah. He did. Yeah,
he set up Saka's goal, so he's back in the assist.
Yeah, he looks miserable, poor guy. Like, do you mean? I kind of feel for him as well, right? We did, Jack, transfer videos, and we do them every summer, and they're really popular on YouTube. So we'll try and do one for like all of the top 6 sides. And in the transfer video, I had Spurs, so I picked players for Spurs. And one of the key elements of the Spurs transfer video was you have to sell Harry Kane. Like, A, he doesn't want to be there. B, if you can get 120 million plus maybe a Laporte or Sterling, like that's good business. Do you know what I mean? And for some reason, Spurs just dug their heels in and said, no, we're not doing it. And now it doesn't benefit anybody, because Man City are left without what they need. Spurs, I think, are left short as well, because realistically, that 100 million, they could have gone on to sign, countless different players as well. So it doesn't help they have a manager that they didn't really want either. But yeah, it seems like the Grealish situation, nobody's really a winner as it stands, other than whoever Jack Grealish banks with. That's about it right now.
I think where Spurs was sort of stuck in the middle of was, if they'd have sold Kane, would they have gone through another Gareth Bale scenario where they had all this money and they were like, well, who do we sign? Let's just sign everyone. And then it all sort of go into shit, because then they're not realistically going to get another Harry Kane. They can't buy someone as good as Harry Kane, like a Lewandowski or a Haaland, because they're just not going to go to Spurs. So, because Harry Kane pretty much came through their ranks, didn't he? So they developed a Harry Kane. They didn't buy a Harry Kane. So if they sell Harry Kane, what do? Do they just go backwards? Like you say, Spoon, they have to sell him and reinvest, but history tells us they don't do that very well. So they've obviously decided, well, we're gonna stick it out and just hopefully he'll bang us 20 to 25 goals a season and keep us around the top 4.
I think he's still capable of doing that, though. I think he obviously doesn't look himself, but we have seen it before. Strikers go through a shit patch and then just start banging him in again. I don't know. He's got it's a little bit like, you could say it's like the Aubameyang situation, maybe, and he could just drop off a cliff. But I do think Harry Kane will still get 20 league goals this season. Even though he's looked poor, but
they've got a new manager as well, isn't it? So it's all sort of all change and things like that. New system, new managers. I agree. I think class is permanent. He'll come out the other end and he will still bang in goals.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, I agree.
If he doesn't, then they'll sell him, wouldn't they? I guess it's a case of, do City get desperate as well? I know people don't typically go in January like the big players, but if it really isn't working for him and City are within touching distance at the top, maybe they just put 150 million on it and say, we'll take him to win the league and stuff.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point, actually, Jack. That is very interesting that City may decide to gamble. There's a lot of talk that City wouldn't buy him next year, But I think he'd be a great fit still. I mean, ultimately, money's no problem to them. He's what they need. I don't think Erling Haaland will end up at Man City purely on the basis that Pep doesn't sign Mino Raiola players. So that kind of leaves you at a shortfall again. Where do you find a top-class striker? Well, Kane will be, I think he'll have, 2 years left in his contract, maybe, give or take, come the summer. So, yeah, interesting times, gents, interesting times. We'll keep an eye on that as well, Jack, actually. It's a really good point about the January window. Speaking of transfer windows, Jack, obviously, we just want to recall the window just gone. Me and Becky wanted to ask you, out of all the clubs, be it in the Premier League or in Europe, who do you think had the best transfer window?
Yeah, we did an episode actually on YouTube, like ranking them, and I think this was before you guys signed Ronaldo, so I think you'd definitely be up there. But I think the way that Chelsea sold players and the way that they just continue to do it is just mental. Like getting 20 million for like Mark Gahey, who's never played a Premier League game, and
Zuma.
And getting 30 odd mil for Zuma, 30 odd mil for Abraham. Yeah, it's just, so I think they're up there. I did actually think Tottenham, because I thought probably the best, I don't know if you can call it a signing, but they got Son to sign a new deal, which I think it was 3 years. I don't know how they did that. I don't know what they've got on him. But I think that was, it's not a new signing, but a contract extension like that is, that's a really good signing. But I think United, Chelsea probably have been the best two from the Premier League. I can't really think in Europe, because everyone's got no money in Europe. So
PSG aside,
other than PSG,
yeah.
But I don't know if PSG have done good business. I mean, they're going to lose Mbappe on a free next year. They rejected about £200 million bid for him or something from Real Madrid. I don't know. Is he worth that for 1 year? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree with you, bro.
Well, if you don't win the Champions League, you'd probably say no, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's facts. Yeah, Becky, who did you have in mind as the best transfer window pick?
A few came to mind. I wanted to say as well, what Jack said about Son is a good point, isn't it? Because for as good as he is, and I really think he could play in pretty much any top side in Europe, but there doesn't seem to be a huge deal of interest over him, does it? Especially when he's coming to his new contract. You would have thought, some of your top European clubs would have been sniffing, but yeah, I don't know what they've got on him, like he says, but he's locked down at the moment. But I mentioned you before, and Spoon, I thought Everton did an all right window. They had a couple of free transfers. I've never really thought too much of Demarai Gray, but he's sort of having a good start to the season. They've got Rondon in there, was a steady Eddie player, normally banging a few goals. They got somebody else on a free as well. I can't remember who it was.
They got was Townsend on a free.
Townsend, yes.
Townsend, yeah.
Scoring some goals, yeah.
It was almost like their plan was, let's just get loads of fast wingers who can whip the ball in for Calvert-Lewin to score goals. They got Townsend, they got Gray, Rondon. So I thought they did some tidy business, considering they didn't spend, very much money. And obviously United, and I think Varane has settled in pretty well. Sancho not so much at the moment, and Ronaldo's just scoring goals. So Chelsea. I don't know who's selling their players, but if I ever need to sell anything, I think I go and that man or woman.
It's a woman actually. Yeah,
it's
Maria. Her name is.
Yeah, Maria. Yeah. She's
Yeah.
obviously finessing him. Go on, Jackson.
Well, you interview footballers. I'm sure you could get her contact details with a little bit of digging.
Mate, we would love to. If she's watching, Maria, please come on. Like, I would love some negotiation.
What's your secret, Maria?
Yeah, what is your secret, Maria? Because, like you said, this is not a new thing either. It's not like it's a one window thing where she's been doing. No, it's a one off, and she's just happened to bat her eyelashes, and people have gone, "Oh, we'll just give you an extra 15 million for Tammy Abraham." Like, she does it every summer.
One theory is, though, isn't it? Is that like they obviously, some clubs, they don't really care for the contract situation. Like, they'll let players go for free. Chelsea are obviously very good at monitoring the contracts they offer and when they offload them, because today's market, you can offload what we consider a bang average player, like not bang average, but like a Zuma or an Abraham that's not really anything special. And as long as they've got a good bit left on their contract, you will get tidy money for them. So there is an element of that, isn't there?
Yeah, well, they do it well. I mean, look, if you look at Manchester United, they don't do it well. They really struggle. Like Dalot now, again, I thought, he's a £15 million player. They couldn't give him away. You look at Andreas Pereira, could you get 15 million from off someone? Probably, but they just don't know how to do it. So you have to give Chelsea credit. They've done very well. In terms of my pick, Jack, I was going with Villa. I just thought, Villa are a very good side. I like the purchases they made. Watching them on the weekend, Ings, Buendia, Bailey, all very good signings. Tuanzebe as well. It's not a bad player. He's okay. If he can stay fit, he can do a job for them. But yeah, Villa was my choice, lads. I thought they did pretty well. What do you think of them?
I think they did well because Grealish was the system. So they are looking decent. I thought they were going to struggle this year. I thought they was going to struggle massively, but I did not expect like Leon Bailey to be as good as he was. I knew Ings was good, but I just feel like he'll get injured at some point. So yeah, fair play. I didn't have Villa before the season to be anywhere near the top half, but they're looking good at the moment. They're looking like they no longer rely on one man. A bit like the CEO came out and said they basically signed 3 players to replace Grealish, and that's what it looks like. So yeah, I think in the circumstances, selling your best player, they're going to probably finish above where they did last year. I think they finished like 12th or 13th last year. So yeah, that is, for them, that's pretty solid, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. No, that's exactly what I call it, mate. Solid business. Now, going on to the Premier League season, we want to get some predictions. Now, you're going with United to win the league then, Jack. You're sticking with that. You're not deviating.
Yeah, I'll tell you why, right? So, I think even though City have just beaten Chelsea at the weekend, there's a lot of times I think they're going to struggle to break down teams. And I feel like it's similar with Chelsea. They're more suited to cups, but they're probably I think it is going to be tight at the top. But I think the reason United are going to win it is because they don't have any African players, and the AFCON is going to kill Liverpool with Mane and Salah going, but also Chelsea, their goalkeeper Mendy's going, so they're going to be with Kepa for a month. I don't think it will impact City as much. Because other than like Mahrez, they've not got many. But I just feel like City need that number 9 to be in amongst it. So yeah, I think that's probably the reason. I think I'd say Chelsea if there wasn't an AFCON going on in January, but because there is, I'll go United. Okay,
what are you saying, Becky?
Yeah, the United, they're going through not a great patch at the moment. They lost in the Champions League against Young Boys. I know that was a couple of key mistakes. Lost to Villa. They drew. They've drawn with? Was it Southampton they drew with? I know they sneaked a late winner against West Ham. So they haven't looked great, but where they sort of got away with it is teams around them haven't made a flying start either. So they're only 1 point off the top, which means that not all is lost. If they are going to have a spell where they don't do so well, it's not bad to have it now. I do think they will click better, and I think they will be closer this year than they were last year. But I don't see that. I would love nothing more than to win the league with Ronaldo coming back, but I think it's going to be tight. I think that we could fall short again in second place just because we didn't address that midfield issue. I don't think with Fred and McTominay there's enough there, and the Van de Beek situation is a strange one. Matic is now 54 years old. So I thought they could have got him for like an Ndidi. They didn't go for Saul Niguez, Basuma even. So that's why I think they could fall is that midfield. So I'm going to put them for second, and I do fancy Chelsea to win the league, following on from what they did last season. Lukaku was obviously a pretty decent signing for them, and he's hit the ground running. So it would be Chelsea, United, City, Liverpool is my top four.
Yeah, I go with Chelsea only because, like you said, Lukaku was the missing piece, whereas Man City, if they had got their missing piece, I'd probably have put them. But yeah, that Chelsea side, like the formation they play, they're very hard to beat. Like they're playing basically, 5 at the back plus 2 sit-in midfielders that can do a bit of everything. All you've really got to do then is just get Lukaku to score once or twice, and very few teams are going to put 3 or 4 past Chelsea. So it's Chelsea for me. From a relegation standpoint, Jack, who are you going with this summer? Who do you think's going down?
Well, Norwich are definitely down.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah, pretty much. The other ones, that's difficult. I think Watford will probably go down as well.
We've made a tiny start.
Interesting.
Yeah, they've had a decent start. If you had asked me at the start of the season, I probably would have said they stay up and Brentford go down. I don't know with Watford. I just feel like, they're so reliant on. For me, they're so reliant on Sarr, like that one player. I think they have had a decent start, but I think it's partly because they beat Norwich as well. Like I think if you take the Norwich game out, I think they are near the bottom. And then it's a toss-up between Burnley and Newcastle.
That's it, yeah.
I don't know. You feel like Sean Dyche is always going to get out of it, but there's always one too many. You go on for a bit too long. Like Sam Allardyce got relegated, didn't he, for the first time last season? I think we saw it with Eddie Howe. He was staying up with Bournemouth every year, then he got relegated. So it might just be Burnley's turn to go down. I think Newcastle are definitely close to going down as well, but I feel like it might be the right time for Burnley to get relegated.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say I think this is the year that Sean Dyche doesn't save them. I think it's 1 year too many. And I don't think it would necessarily be too much his fault because they aren't very well backed financially.
They're not, no.
You think for all the good work that he's done with the very average players, no disrespect to Burnley, but they have, you think somebody, would have sort of given a bit more financial backing to do a bit more, but never happens. And so I think it'll be Burnley's year that they don't make it out. Newcastle, they're so bad as well, and I know Reece would agree, but I think as long as they can keep Callum Wilson pretty fit most of the season and say Maximin, that's just enough quality for them to duck it again. Southampton will be one for me that I think will hover around there. I just don't think they have any huge quality there either. They got rid of Ings, which was their outlet, and then the only other one that I said at the start of the season was Brighton, but look at the start they've made.
Yeah. They've probably got more points already than Norwich will get this season. But that's a good shout about Southampton. I forgot about them, but that I think they've probably done the worst business out of anyone because they got rid of Ings and they got rid of Vestergaard, which for them will be a big miss. I mean, I do like this Livramento guy.
He's good.
That they've got in, but they're another one where I think they're just going to draw a load of games, not sort of have enough quality, like you said, James, to get stuff over the line. And they'll be in trouble whether they go down, but they'll definitely be fighting to stay up.
Yeah. Oh, interesting shouts, lads. I am going with Norwich, Burnley, and I am going with... You know what? I'm going to throw in Newcastle. because Reece that usually does this, Jack, is a massive Newcastle fan. So just to piss him off, I'm going to say Newcastle. So
he probably agree with you, to be fair.
Yeah, he probably wants him to go down. It's the only way that he'll ever get rid of Steve Bruce. So yeah, that would suit Reece quite well, a season in the Championship. But yeah, okay, so that's the Premier League winners. That's the relegation battle. The final thing I wanted to touch upon was the Champions League winner. Jack, who do you think's going to win it this year?
I think Bayern.
Ooh.
I think they should have won it last year, but Lewandowski missed. I don't know if he missed both of the games against PSG or one of them.
Yeah.
I think they would have beaten PSG. I think they would have gone on to beat Chelsea and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, I just think they're just strong, like all round. I can't actually think who's their manager at the moment. Is it
it's
Leipzig guy, isn't it? Who
Nagelsmann.
went there? Nagelsmann. Yeah, so he's not won anything yet, but I mean, I think that's definitely going to change. They're going to win the Bundesliga, aren't they? And yeah, I just feel like there's not many super teams outside of England other than Bayern and possibly PSG, but I think the egos might get in the way of each other there.
Interesting. Bayern's a good shout. What are you saying, Becky?
This is probably the first year in a while that I'm actually not too sure. Like Jack said, there's nobody really standing out for me. Like the last couple of years, I called it the year, but the year Bayern won it, I called it. I said they would win it. Last year, I said they would win it, and bar maybe Lewandowski missing games, they probably could have won it again. Something tells me that this could be one of the years where an outsider wins it, which doesn't happen very often. Someone like Atletico or Dortmund, someone like that. I was going to say for an outside shout. It'd be typical. Dortmund would sell their Haaland, one of their best players, and then get to the final or win the whole thing. But maybe perhaps Liverpool. I'll go Liverpool. It pains me to say it, but I'll go Liverpool because they're just a good European side. They're last sort of 4 or 5 years they're thereabouts. So I'll go with them this year.
Yeah. All right. Bayern, we got Liverpool. I am going to go Chelsea back to back. Again, I just think there's so many winners in that side. If they keep Lukaku fit, they'll be very, very hard to break down. So, yeah, Chelsea for me. I think that's pretty much it, Jack, to be honest, in terms of the topics we had. Becky, do you have anything else you want to touch upon?
The only one thing I was going to ask, which relates to sort of stuff we've been chatting about, is Premier League Golden Boot winner this season.
Oh, okay.
Who you got? I said to Reece that when Ronaldo signed, even though he's 3 games missing, I still think he'll win the Golden Boot, and he wasn't so sure. So I'm going to go Ronaldo.
Yeah, Ronaldo's a good shout, actually. What are you saying, Jack?
I'm just going to go Lukaku to be different, but I do like the Ronaldo shout as well. But yeah. I'll go Lukaku to be different.
I'm with you actually. I'm going to go Lukaku too. Yeah, I'm going to go Lukaku. I think, like I said, that Chelsea team, everything's going to go through him. And they will create plenty of chances for him. And I think they're going to be in a position where they're dominating games more than Manchester United. So, yeah, I'll go Lukaku too then, lads. Okay.
I have one final question.
Ooh, go on. Throw it in there.
Do you think Bruno Fernandes has taken his last ever penalty for Manchester United?
I've still got him in my FPL team. But do you know what?
Yeah.
That actually... It probably did better for my rank that he took it and missed it than if Ronaldo had taken it and scored.
Yeah.
Because if that had happened, not having Ronaldo, I would have gone massively down.
I'm surprised Ronaldo let him take it. I honestly thought that he would have a chance.
It's an interesting perspective, isn't it? Because Ronaldo, you think the ego would take over, but he showed a lot of humility to let Bruno Fernandes take it.
He takes him for Portugal over Bruno, so I thought that automatically he would do the same. But he allowed Bruno his chance, and very surprisingly, he ruined it because he doesn't miss pens, does Bruno?
Wasn't his normal run-up though, was it, or his normal style?
Yeah.
He just sort of. It was more of a rugby conversion than his normal.
That's exactly what it was. That is exactly it.
Martinez
got in his head. Did you see him, Becky? Martinez talking to him before, and Bruno shit himself a little bit, like because Bruno, you could see the anger in Bruno's eyes. He was like, I'm just going to blast it. Bruno wanted to put him and the ball into the net, and he let his emotions get the better of him. Like, if he was calm in that situation and he just rolls it into the corner, like Jack says, with the normal run-up, it's no problem. You can come away with a point. But, yeah, I definitely think he let emotions.
It's actually, for the first time in about 18 months, I'm now considering taking Bruno out of my dream team.
It's a bullshit.
He's been a mainstay. I can't actually think back to a time where he wasn't in my dream team because of how consistent he's been. But I predict he's going to be off penalty duties now, which means he does get points still, but that is a good makeup of his points, and he's not a cheap player.
Yeah, I'm taking him out this week because I need to get Lukaku in, so I've got to move a couple of bits about.
Ronaldo's so expensive, isn't it? How do you get Ronaldo in your team without wild card in? It's just not possible.
Yeah,
no, it's facts. I'm doing what Jack does. So if he's saying Ronaldo's going to go, Ronaldo's going to go. Like, do you mean that's how it is? But yeah, we'll wrap it up. Jack, you're an absolute legend, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. Honestly.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, pleasure.
We'll probably see you next year as well, Jack. To be fair. Yeah,
I mean, same time next year, really, mate. Isn't it? When you win again, so you're pretty much going to blow us all out the water. With the podcast, we'll leave obviously a link to Jack's Twitter, any Instagram handle you've got as well in the description. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast for the love of lists, make sure you do. We'll leave all that in the description too. Me and Becky will be back with Reese hopefully next week or relatively soon, and we'll hopefully have some other guests on as well, some other ex-pros or maybe current pros, depending on who gets back in touch with us. But for now, like the video, subscribe, all that good jazz. Check out all our other content. We'll be back next week, and we'll see you next time, people. Take care. Ciao.